Coming up this morning, one person feared dead after another building collapsed at Kasoa in the central region. Also in the bulletin, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman, has criticized the decision of the minority to boycott parliamentary proceedings over prosecution of 3 NDC MPs. Plus, civil society groups have welcomed the incarceration of 2 women for 12 years for their involvement in the murder of 90-year-old Akwia Dente at Kafaba in the Savannah region over witchcraft accusations. For some international news, as Taliban ordered Afghanistan's hair and beauty salons to shut a new set of female restrictions. You're welcome to the program. We're starting this morning from news concerning the Finance Ministry and some economics affairs, because the Finance Minister, Kenneth Ofori-Atta, has admitted the domestic debt exchange was a very difficult experience, but the country needed to bite the bullet in order to ensure a speedy economic recovery. He noted that the economy has started stabilizing following the IMF deal approval. He was speaking at an event to observe America's Independence Day in Accra.
The media will recognize that it's been quite a dramatic change in where we are. During that period in which we did a double take to go to the fund, we got the SLA in record time. We got the fund approval in record time. We got 3 times our quota, which is unprecedented, 3 billion. We also were able to front load it so that we may get 1.2 billion this year, which is good. And then within 3 days of the approval also, it was disbursed for us. And then inflation has tapered down from 54 to where we are. I think the currency is a little bit more stable. Treasury bill rates have moved from 35 to maybe 20-something%. The domestic debt estate program was very difficult for us as a country, but I think, you know, the need to do it is being proven. So you can see some stability, and we are grateful for that. There's a lot of work ahead, and really we need to remain faithful as Ghanaians to push ahead. There's going to be some sacrifices, but I think it's the direction to go. Thank you very much.
Now, away from that to some other disturbing news this morning. And injuries have been reported after another building collapse at Kasoa, a man from in Accra, in the central region. Now, at the time of the collapse of the property, said the health facility, some health staff of the facility, including the proprietor, were busily at work when that happened. My colleague Godwin Asidiba was at the scene.
Here at the Restoration Health Birth Care Center in Gar South, an unfortunate incident happened here after a heavy downpour, which lasted for about 2 hours, weakened this portion of the clinic. We were told 4 people, including the owner of the facility, were seated under this 1-story building structure. Now, after the rain, the building collapsed on them. They were stuck under the debris for hours before a team from the Ghana National Fire Service and the police service came in to rescue them. Unfortunately, the owner of the facility, who was brought out from this part of the building, has been pronounced dead. But the remaining 4 are currently in a critical condition, and they have been rushed to the hospital by a team from the Ghana National Fire Service and the police service as well. Residents here are shocked. They are down in the dumps because they are still trying to come to terms with the fact that this rather unfortunate incident has happened here, and they are hoping that those who have been rushed to the hospital will come out strong.
Away from that, the Tamale High Court has convicted Hajia Mohammed Serena and Latifa Bumaye to 12 years imprisonment with hard labor. The 2 were found guilty for a murder of 90-year-old woman Akwia Dente at Kafaba in the Savannah region on Thursday, July 23, 2020, over witchcraft accusations. 7 people, including the chief of the Kafaba community, Sidu Yahaya, Hajia Serena Mohammed, and Latifa Bumaye, were arrested following the death of Akwia Dente. Hajia Serena Mohammed and Latifa were later charged with attempted murder and murder. Director of a northern-based human rights group, Songtaba Latamatu Adam, has welcomed the 12-year incarceration of the two women for the murder of 90-year-old Quayson Kafaba in the Savannah region. She also wants the anti-witchcraft bill passed to criminalize witchcraft accusation and further protect the rights of the vulnerable.
We human rights defenders, women's rights activists are quite impressed with this ruling. This is just one aspect that we need to encourage, but then also we still need to work with communities to strengthen protection mechanism, at the community level. And we need to work closely with the traditional authority towards women and underserved population protection. Because if you look at Madam Ekweadente's case, the whole community stood by and watched this happen. But beyond Madam Ekweadente's case, there have been several witchcraft accusations. Well, it may not be enough entirely, but then it's a step in the right direction. Once people know that their actions are going to be questioned in the law court, I'm sure that it's going to deter them. But like I mentioned, beyond this, we need to also push for the bill that is criminalizing witchcraft, which the anti-witchcraft coalition members are pushing for, to better emphasize on the need to criminalize witchcraft accusation. Beyond that, we need to work around practice change about how deep-seated cultural issues are affecting the human rights of people.
The Executive Director for the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman, has criticized the decision of the minority to boycott parliamentary business over the prosecution of 3 NDC members of parliament. He believed that would not augur well for Ghana's democratic progress and that the NDC as a party going forward.
I don't know whether the minority has maybe tried the strategy of getting the leadership of the House to sit together and look at this matter very carefully before embarking on this strategy that they announced today. There is something we call a responsible opposition, and an opposition that is waiting in the wings to form a government. In some countries, we have some parties that are permanently in opposition. They don't have any chance of forming a government. Those can act maybe in a way that might be construed as irresponsible. But a party that has a chance of forming the next government, has to be careful in terms of the actions that it takes. They have to show up in the House. They have to participate in the business of the House. They have to show us alternatives. Otherwise, in the end, the ruling party might be blamed for maybe some of the challenges that our country would face. But I think they would also be blamed by the voters for the fact that they decided to consistently boycott parliamentary proceedings. In other words, they decided not to show up to work, not to show up to hold the government to account. So I would say perhaps maybe a better strategy might be to try and see through the leadership of the House to see whether consensus might work this time. I know we've tried over and over in this 8th Parliament, and consensus seems to be eluding everybody. But a strategy that would take all of them away from the House might also be one that might be a little bit dangerous.
Well, there's growing pressure for the Attorney General to drop the criminal trial and the charges against Asin North MP James Quayson, despite the AG's warning to avoid such unjustified comments. More people keep suggesting that the AG should consider public sentiments and discontinue the case.
Legal discussions surrounding James Quayson's trial continue, with various interpretations and opinions describing selective justice. The Attorney General, Godfred Dame, has criticized some commentaries as unwarranted, prejudicial and orchestrated. He claims this comment put pressure on court and interfere with state prosecutors' work. Traditional leaders of Asin North have appealed to the president to terminate the prosecution, citing the lack of representation in the past 3 years.
We plead with the president to intervene to end the trial because our development as people of Asin North has suffered due to the court case. We have already chosen him to lead us, so we need to put the past behind us.
For a former Attorney General, Ayukwe Otu, it won't be politically prudent for the Attorney General to enter a nolli prosequi to end the case. For now, the MP will continue appearing in court regardless of his status as a lawmaker. Christian Yali, TV3 News.
Now, President Kufuor has charged the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture to devise effective marketing strategies to attract some 1 million domestic and international visitors to the renovated Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. The president gave the charge at the commissioning of the 13 million cities redeveloped Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park in Accra. Away from that, the Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuah has hinted that the ministry will advisedly consider Section 35 Act due to the experience they have had with the founder of defunct Capital Bank, William Atuesien. The convict has failed to pay the first 20 million cedis out of the 60 million cedis he owes the state to avoid jail term, despite a 2-month lifeline. Ododo Asari has more here.
Founder of defunct Capital Bank, William Atuesien, has received another lifeline from an Accra High Court presided over by Justice Eric Chebafo. His lawyers had argued that he was unable to raise the 12 million Ghana cedis because as a convict, his passport had been seized by the court registry and he was unable to move around. Atuesien was expected to pay the first tranche of the restitution money of 20 million Ghana cedis by the end of April, but had made a total payment of 8 million Ghana cedis. Lawyer for the convict, Bafo Bonso Ashia, holding brief for Thaddeus Sorry, prayed the courts for an additional 3 months to be able to raise the remainder of the money since they were facing an uphill task of raising the money locally. Additionally, he pleaded with the courts to release Atuesien's passport to allow him meet with partners outside the country to help raise the money, but was quickly shut down by the judge. After deliberations, presiding judge Eric Chebafo reluctantly gave the former CEO of Capital Bank up to July 27 to pay the remainder of the money or risk jail time. Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuah spoke to the media after the adjournment.
It is a tool that is still available to accused persons, but I think that if an accused person decides to take advantage of that section, you must be also ready to go by the terms that you undertake to undergo. But the whole thing is, if you agree that you are going to pay an amount by X date and refuse to pay, and we have to be chasing you up and down, I don't think something that we may want to encourage. So having this experience, this particular case, in subsequent proceedings, we may also want to change our strategy.
It remains to be seen if by July 27, William Atuesien would have been able to raise the required monies to dodge jail time. Lodi Dwasari, TV3 News, Accra High Court.
Still on matters concerning the court, and James Jachi Quayson was given the green light to absent himself from his criminal trial due to a swearing in after lawyers stated that he was on a national assignment. Lodi Dwasari explains here.
Presiding Judge Mary Mami Ekie-Yanzu notified the court about a letter received from Parliament regarding the swearing in of James Jachi Quayson as Asin North Member of Parliament. Prosecution and defense resulted to an adjournment of the criminal proceedings, citing a national assignment by James Jachi Quayson. The court hence adjourned proceedings to Thursday, July 6, for defense lawyers to file stay of execution. NDC Head of Legal Affairs, Ibrahim Amaleba, who expressed satisfaction, backed calls for the Attorney General to discontinue the case.
What we don't want is for the state to use its might to re-rule the process so that our client will go to jail. We want the processes to be fair. We are not saying that we won't come and stand trial, but for the daily hearings, that is what we are against. And no criminal in this country, an accused person rather, has been brought to court every day. why should it be Quayson? And so that's what we are against. If a Ghanaian feels that it's a complete waste of time to continue prosecuting the MP-elect and voices out that the Attorney General should use his power of knowledge, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Deputy Attorney General said although the ceremony in Parliament was a national assignment, it won't be consistent.
I hope it does not become a norm. You may be an MP, that's all right. But if you have a matter in court, you must also be in court. Because you have two arms of government, the legislature, the two arms, the legislature and then the judiciary. If you have an assignment to perform in Parliament, you do it. If you have an assignment or a duty to also perform in the court, you also do it. You cannot say because you have an assignment in Parliament all the time, the court should not go on dealing with these matters. That would not be proper.
Let's bring you some international news now as the Taliban have ordered hair and beauty salons in Afghanistan to shut in the latest restriction faced by women. A Vice and Virtue Ministry spokesman told reporters businesses had 1 month to comply starting from July 2 when they were first informed of the move. Women's freedoms have steadily shrunk since the Taliban seized power in 2021. They have barred teenage girls and women from classrooms, gyms and parks, and most recently even banned them from working for the United Nations. Taliban have also decreed that women should be dressed in a way that only reveals their eyes and must be accompanied by a male relative if they are traveling more than 48 miles. The restrictions have continued despite international condemnation and protests by women, as well as activists speaking on their behalf. Shutting beauty salons was part of a wide range of measures imposed by the Taliban when they were last in power between 1996 and 2001, but they reopened in the years after the 2001 US-led invasion of Afghanistan. There's always more news on our website, TV3news.com, but that's how we wrap up on the news on New Day. My name is Noble Crosby, and Cookie Bella, Roland, good morning to you.